So my second workshop, so maybe I'm a bit more experienced at this now. This one is going to be on default replacements because that's what I do. And this one is going to be on hairs. I find that hairs are not necessarily more difficult than clothes, but they are for sure more tedious. With clothes, like sure you have the recolors and whatever. Some outfits have a lot of recolors, but with hairs, you always have to do, for adults, you have to do the 5 natural colors. Well, elders are counted into adults here, and then you need to do all the colors for all the other ages, and you have to pay attention to, hi Julie, you have to pay attention to the families and getting the correct hair, and there's a lot to keep in mind. As with the last workshop, I'm going to be starting with something early, like easier from one of the later expansion packs. The files you work with are much more complicated if you get them like from base game. So for anyone starting out with hair defaults, I would recommend start with a hair from one of the expansion packs or stuff packs, like just one of the later ones. Though there's some weirdness with the apartment life ones and the mansion and gardens. So like somewhere in between, not the earliest, not the latest. Like kitchen and bath is good. Anyway, I showed you another method last workshop for how to find the name of stuff. This time I'm just going to go on the default database and look, and here is the hair I want to replace. It is called Long Part, and it is from Bon Voyage. So again, I'm going to use SimPE. I'm going to go into the Finder. I will set it to property set search, and I will type in hair long part. When searching for hairs, you do usually want to omit any information about the age or even the gender, because sometimes a hair will be available for multiple ages, even multiple genders, or the child or toddler versions of the hair will have a U instead of an F or an M. So it's easier to search if you just do the actual hair part of the name. Um, Here it is. You can also see the where you can navigate to it if you don't have this search set up, only really an issue for Ultimate Collection players. I'll double click this and it opens. I can sort by name. I can select all of these. Then I can sort by instance, and then I'll just go through. I'm holding control here to select without unselecting the other ones. And now I've selected all my resources that I want to extract. Every property set has a corresponding 3D ID referencing file. So that's what I'm looking for here. You see I got AF hair long part black, which has this instance, and listed right next to it is the 3D ID referencing file of the same instance. And you see that for all of these. Right click, hit extract. Here you can make a new folder and work out of that folder. I just extract all of these to my desktop because I find it easiest, as long as you know where your files are. Then I will create a new package. I will right click and add, and then I will go to desktop where I added these. Add, select all. I can also hit enter to add them into here. Then I will save, and I forgot what naming convention I was using for this last time, but I can go with default F hair long part workshop Rudhira. Oh, that's not how you spell my name. Rudhira. It's a good idea to at the very least have the name of what it is you're replacing in the file. Sometimes people also name it with what they have used to replace it. So in this case, oh, did I even tell you guys what hair I was gonna use for this? It's Peaky Angels. It's linked in the workshops forum. So I could have named this like default F hair long part Newsy, whatever it is, Peaky Angels, so that people know at a glance what hair it is. But yeah, I think this is the most vital part.
Which method is better, naming it after what it's actually replacing, or naming it after the creator of the mesh and texture that you're replacing it with?
Oh, it is definitely better to name it after what is being replaced in the game. That is like the bare minimum. If you are making a default replacement, the name should always reflect what is being replaced. Anything else you want to add, like any extra information, like your own name or the name of the mesh or textures being used, you can add if you want to, but like do not post default replacements without naming them after what is being replaced, because then people will never be able to track them down in their downloads folder. Anyway, did I not have them here? No, I put them on my desktop. I want to get this Peaky Angel's hair, and I'm going to extract this here. I can delete this. I've also decided I'm gonna be using, I'm not super familiar with these textures, I just picked some that I thought looked nice, but they have two families, and I think the family I want to use this, what is source? Let's see, I think it is black. Is it this one? I need to check the other one for reference. Okay, let's see here. I want to use, I need the mesh, I need black, dark brown, dark gray, dark red, and blonde. Okay, those are the ones I need to use. I'm gonna start off by looking at the mesh. This hair is available for adults and elders, teens and children, but the hair I'm replacing is for adults only. So already at this stage, I will be deleting all of the resources that are that I don't need right now. If you do this, make sure you're editing, like if this is a hair you already have in your game as a custom file, then make sure you're not editing the actual mesh you have in your game, because that could break the custom version. Like get a separate copy and use this to work off of. But yeah, I'll select all of these. I click here, I hold shift and click here, select all of them, and then I press shift delete, deletes them, and then I save. Now I want to look in the GMDC to see what groups I have. I have hair and I have hair alpha. This hair has two groups. Sometimes when you have several lines like this, it may look like the hair has three groups, since there are three lines, but what you're going by is how many unique names there are. So there's group 1, which is hair, and group 2, which is hair alpha. Now I'm gonna show you the way I normally do this. To link the mesh, I will extract the resource node, and I will extract the shape. And I'm also gonna, at this stage, take a look at the hair itself. Oh, this was actually made super easy for me. Sometimes you will see a blank texture. It's just it's a texture resource, but it contains no texture. It is just a blank square that is usually linked to the hair TXMT. This one doesn't have one, and if you look at the TXMT, there's no reference to a texture image here. This means that the hair group is just a scalp, and it is, well, there's no painted on texture on the scalp. So I'm gonna extract this as well, and I'll just name it hair. Now I will go back into my default replacement here. Last workshop I showed you that you can use this PJSC tool to link stuff. I will not be doing that today, however. So I'm adding these, then I want to empty out one of the 3D ID referencing files, not like that. Oh, I am really bad at clicking today. There we go. Commit that. Then in order to add these into here, I hit package and it opens this window. Here I get the resource node first, then the shape, and then the material definition. and this is the material definition. Also commit the changes. The material definition for the blank scalp. Since there are no hair textures or colors associated with this one, I can use the same scalp resource for all of the 5 colors because there's no texture, there's nothing that could look wrong. So I'm gonna extract this. I'll just name it 3IDR, and then I'll use that to replace the other ones. And that means that I have them all set up at this stage where they are linked to the same mesh, and they have one of the 2 material definition lines they need. So we're almost done with the 3D ID referencing files. I'll delete these and save. And I can also get rid of some of these here. I'm gonna need the hair TXMT again, but the other ones I can delete. Now we want to go back into here, and we need to extract the texture and, well, the material definition that goes with it. So I will extract, name this black. I will extract and name this black as well. More frequently, you will see a hair where the gray color is actually part of the black package, and then you would see another texture in here, and you would see this but saying EF hair. And if that is the case, you need to at this stage also extract the gray texture and the material definition. But in this case, there isn't one. I'm gonna go to the next color. Some people were a little confused by this last workshop, but you can open packages by using this open package menu here, but what I prefer doing is just dragging them into SimPE like this. Anyway, extract, and then we have brown and hair alpha brown. Then we're gonna get the gray one. And I could extract any of these for this hair. It doesn't matter as they're all linked to the same texture. I'm gonna go with the EF one because it will make more sense in my brain. But really for all of them, like, you could use the child hair resources if you wanted to. It doesn't matter what the material definition is called, it just matters what texture it's using. Did I extract both of these? I did. And then we have red. And finally we have blonde. Oh, something else I should do before I forget it. Can I do this with SimPE open? No, I cannot. Okay, never mind. Back to the default replacement. I could show you this now. Last time I added everything at once and looked through them there. But if you're struggling to keep the resources apart from each other, when you do the open package thing, no, not just the package well, I'll show you later, is that you can add just one of the material definitions. Open this. Then I click, this is the black one. I'll go to the 3D ID referencing file for the black hair, click package, and now there is only this single material definition in here, so I cannot get this confused with anything else. I'll add this and commit. Then I will delete this and save, and then I can do the same. I get the blonde one. I know that the only line in here is for the blonde one. Commit, delete this and save. Or I can just add these all at once, and then I'll see that the one ending in D3A2 is gray. And that is gonna be this one.
Sorry, if you're adding multiple TXMTs at the same time, what are you guiding yourself by? Is it the instance high value?
It is the group.
group value. Okay.
Yeah. Um, every package that you create in Body Shop will have a unique group value. So I can see that the gray hair here has a group value that ends in D3A2, and this one, the material definition, will have the same ending, or well, the same number, but I look at the numbers at the end. Brown color here ends in 72C1. So I will go to the brown one. I'm looking for 72C1. And then I'll know that this is the red one because that's the only one I haven't done yet. Did someone click something? Was that a question or was it just another thing?
Sorry, that was just an emoji.
Oh. And now I'll just delete all of these for simplicity's sake. But we can look through the 3D ID referencing files now and see that they all have 4 lines, which is what we want at this point. You always want...
Sorry, the first material definition, is that the scalp then?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And that's shared between all of them. If I click between them, you might be able to see that none of the numbers for that material definition there are changing. It would be different. Sometimes you have a hair that has like shaved portions or whatever, and then you might have an actual texture on the scalp, meaning that you cannot use the same one for all of them. But so many hairs now just have a blank scalp group and then the actual hair, and then you can always just use the same resource for all of them.
Yeah, because that's the easiest way to actually build it, right? The alpha part, the part that you're able to alpha out, you would just add that to the scalp if you were building the mesh.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, well, I actually don't know. I don't make hairs. I just make default replacements, and this is what I found out. Anyway, now that we have all of our stuff linked in here, you want to make sure that you have the mesh, the first 2 lines, resource node and shape, and then anything after that can be material definitions. I'm gonna right click add, and I will add all of these. If you have them extracted some other way, just make sure that you get them all. Open, and then I can also right click add, navigate to the folder, make sure that this is set to dbpf package or all files, so that I can add the mesh as well, and then save. If you haven't at this point already deleted the resources for the extra ages that are not used, you can do it at this point. So if I had the child and teen lines here, I could delete them at this point. Because there's actually no reason for them to be in here if they're not being used. Now what we want to do, probably the most tedious part, is that we need to set the property sets up to work with the changes we've made. So again, we have the groups hair and hair alpha. We have edited the 3D ID referencing files accordingly, and now we need to work on the property sets. This one has a bunch of extra stuff that we don't need. I'm gonna double check the name. Hair and hair alpha, no special characters. So what we can start off by doing is changing num overrides. This is the number of groups. Set this to 2 because we have 2 groups. That does mean that anything after this line, it's not gonna read. We can leave these 6 lines here if we want to. I prefer deleting them because I think it looks cleaner. So I'm just gonna delete. Oh, can I delete these? What I do when selecting them, instead of like trying to click the correct line, I just click here somewhere and then I press the up arrow on my keyboard and it will select the lowest line of the property set, which makes it a bit faster, I think. And then let's just commit the changes. I'll just delete the 5 from here because that's the only change I needed to make. common group names you could see. I think the most common one is hair underscore alpha 5, but it kind of depends. There isn't too much to change here as there is with clothes. Like, I'm not gonna change any shoe sound because this is hair. You can take a look at flags. This is set to all zeros, which means that this is a hair that can spawn on townies, and it appears in the catalog. If I don't want it to spawn on townies, maybe it's too high poly, maybe it's just too weird, I would set this to an 8. If this is a hair with a hat, I would set flags to 2 if it is something I want to spawn on townies, and A if I don't want it to spawn on townies, and this is relevant for turn-ons and turn-offs, because your sims can have hats as a turn-on or turn-off, and you want them to actually recognize hats as hats if that's the case. Not super important, but something else we can look at is category. For most hairs, you do want this to be set as 137F. The first one, which is actually, well, it's supposed to be read out as 1000, I guess. Actually looks like that, but that's a whole other thing with hexadecimal numbers. This is set to outerwear. Then the 3 here enables it for maternity, which is 100, I think, and gym clothes, which is 200. Then the 7 here is 2 is, or 20 is formal, and then 1 and 4, is that what I have left? Are underwear and sleepwear, but I always get them mixed up. And then the F at the end is 7 plus 8, which makes 15, which is F, where 7 is everyday and sleepwear, or swimwear is 8. If this was, let's say this is a hat, maybe I don't want it enabled for a bunch of categories, but I want it for outerwear, I want it for maternity, I want it... It's not a very formal hat, so we don't want it for formal wear or anything like that. And then we want it for everyday. Then I would set the value to this. There's a bunch of stuff you can do here, but I'm just gonna stick with the 137F. And now we have this property set up. Now I have to edit the other ones to also reflect these changes. I don't do that manually anymore. That's the most tedious process and what takes the longest. So instead I will right click and extract this. And I'm just gonna name it property set. Then I will right click this blonde resource and hit replace. And choose the property set, hit enter. Now there are a few things we need to change to make this work correctly. You need to change the hair tone back to 3. Then technically you don't need to do this, but I like also changing the name back so that I can see at a glance what it is. This is a bit different from clothes, where you only need to change the name. For hairs, you need to make sure you also change the hair tone. If you do this method, you can also manually edit all of them, but again, it takes a long time. So we go for brown, replace, rename it brown, and change the hair tone, commit. And then we get to red, do the same thing, change the name, change the hair tone, and then we get to gray, which is special. Let's do the same thing here, gray, hair tone 5. But we also need to make sure to change the age to 10. 48 means it's available for young adults and adults, but this is a hair for elders. And then hit save. And that is actually the entire thing. We have finished a default replacement. I'm gonna show you what it looks like in game, and I could have done this ahead of time, but I am just gonna get you the right folder. I'm gonna put this in here, and then we can go to Body Shop and see what it looks like. And while that's loading, I guess we can clean out some unnecessary files. Though
Are you still presenting? Because I'm not seeing anything.
Oh, aren't you? Is anyone else having issues?
I see your screen.
Oh. Yeah, I think it looks all right on my end.
Okay, there you are. You're back now. It
Yeah,
might
no
be
issues
just like
here.
Oh.
it might be just my internet, but yeah, it's been really like there are volume drops and then I can't hear you for a few seconds, or there's a surface noise, or it just freezes. But it might be on my end.
Oh. There could be
As long
some
as
yeah, there could be some noise because I have a fan on in the background, but
yeah, but I think it's my internet, so no worries. I mean, as long as the OBS is still rolling.
yeah. Well, here I've navigated to where the hair is in the catalog. This looks fine, but you want to make sure you also check the other colors. Oh, these textures are actually really nice. Maybe I'll have to switch over.
Yeah, that is downtown. I really like those textures. Is that
Ivana Marie.
Ivana Marie? Haven't heard of that one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab that hair.
Well, it's linked in the forum. But yeah, so you can test the different colors by just navigating through here. Let's head over to Elders, and this is also looking as it should. So that is the default replacement finished. I am going to show you another one, a base game here, only because they are more difficult. And this one will also have, I think it's available from child and up, so it's gonna be children, teens, and adults. But I figured I'd start with the easier one first. So we can, where am I? We're done with this, so we can delete that. And now let's get started on the second hair. Again, I'm gonna figure out what files I actually need because I don't normally use this, but I think this should be fine. I have all of those. Yes. The hair I'm looking at this time is medium center part, which is this one. And again, I am going to just search for medium center part. Did I spell it right? Yes. I'm hoping that this is one of the hairs that might be a bit more confusing. Otherwise, I'll just have to find another one to show you. Okay, perfect. It might not seem that way, but so let's say we start out with this one. You can see that since it's in apartment life, it is in best of business. I don't think these are actually real, but I'll talk about that later. It's in university life. This is probably when it was updated to be enabled for young adults. Because all the hairs that were included in base game were made for adults, and then they added young adults in university, and they had to update all the base game hairs to, yeah. They probably could have done that better, but whatever. But yeah, you see this, like, seemingly the same hair appears several times. Usually, if you find one like this, in a later expansion pack, it tends to be the real one, and I believe it is. I can show you one of the best of business ones, because you might be confused about what hair to extract, and I can tell you that it's actually none of these. If you want to replace hair medium center part, you don't need any of these files, because you can see here that the flags value is set to 9, and they're there for another reason. Even if I go to university life, even this isn't the real hair, actually. This one is. Oh, what did they do here? Okay, let's try. That might be the real one, but they did it weirdly. What do you have? Why did they hide it? Okay. Let's go to base game and see what we have here. The base game property sets are organized a bit differently. They are sorted by in alphabetical order instead of like an order that makes sense to work with. So whenever you can extract resources from later expansion packs and you're sure that they're correct ones, I would suggest you do that. But yeah, so these are the correct ones. Let's see here. This is the correct one. None of these are the correct ones. Here's the correct one for blonde. Anyway, you might see how this could be super tedious to work out. But what you can do is, I know this is the right one. Flags is set to 0, which means that this is a hair that is unhidden. It is not a hidden clone used for another purpose. I will go to the family line, copy the family line. You press Ctrl-C on your keyboard, put the family line into the property set search, and then search for that instead. And now it's only gonna show me hairs that are in this family. And now I can see which ones I actually need to extract. So I'll start with the apartment life ones, since they're the most recent ones. I'll extract these. Do blonde. Make sure you have them sorted by instance if you're doing it this way, so that you get the correct instance next to it. Extract, and then red, and then we need to remember to get the gray one as well, which I can get from university life. What I really don't get though is why are these hidden? Did they not want them for university anymore? Whatever. Then we get the child hairs. Now you can see here that there's also a toddler hair in here. Something they did up to, like, I don't even know, they did it for a long time, maybe even up to seasons, is that I think as some way to like protect the, or like keep the same hair color family, even if you aged your sim down, which you can't do in the vanilla game, is that they made like hidden placeholder hairs that are clones of other hairs, to have something that the sim could get in the same family. So if I have a child sim with this hair, CF hair medium center part with this family line, and I age her down to a toddler, she would get this placeholder hair, which is entirely hidden in the game, and you can't unhide it by just changing the flag's value either. But she would get that hair, and then if she ages back up to a child, she will have the medium center part hair again. Not sure why they did that, but that's why it's there. But let's just keep going with the resources we actually need, which are the teen resources. Here's another weird one. It is this is only really a case for female base game hairs. Most male base game hairs do not have this, and some female base game hairs also don't. But instead of just using the adult hair and enabling it for young adults, which they also did, mind you, they decided that most of the hairs, a lot of the clothes, needed a young adult female clone instead. And this is kind of weird because the adult female one is already enabled for young adults. It's the one you will see in the Create a Sim catalog. It is the one that appears in the change appearance thing, whatever. So technically, like, do you need to extract and replace these resources as well? No, you still would have the hair accessible for young adults, but this would not replace the hair on, I don't know if anyone even has this, but any pre-made university sims, so like the playables, the dormies, or the ones that appear in the Create a Sim bin, would not have their hair replaced. And if a teenager with the medium center part hair grows up to a young adult, they could either get the hidden clone that is unreplaced, or they could get the adult version that is replaced. So I prefer replacing it just to cover all bases. And luckily they have already started sorting them by by name and instance, so I can just select, not you, all of these and extract them. I do want to go back to just searching for the name so I can show you maybe some ways that the other clones are used, in case you want to see like why not to use those. Like, let's say I go down to this child hair here and I copy this family line because I think this might be the correct one, and then I paste it and I search, and it's gonna take forever. I wonder what I'm gonna get. Oh yeah, so this is apparently the child placeholder hair that if you have an adult sim with the red firefighter helmet and you age them down to a child, they would get this hair. But yeah, but if I search for the family line, I can definitely tell that this is not the one I want to extract. So that's also a way of doing it. We could look at some of the, I think the other firefighter helmet is probably going to be here. We can look at what this one is. But yeah, so for some of the earlier hairs, you might have to figure out which version it is you're actually supposed to use and replace. Yeah, this is for the llama hat. Again, not what we need. Let's create a new file. And let's add all of our extracted resources. Again, name it something that makes sense. F hair medium center part, workshop Rudhira. And at this point, you can also take a quick look through to make sure that they all have the same family line, so that no like accidental other resources have been extracted. But this looks good. So we are gonna keep going with what we've already done. This hair, or this mesh, has adult, child, toddler, and teen stages. We can delete the toddler one because we don't need it. Let's look at the GMDCs. And these luckily all have the same names. With some older hairs, you will find that like teen and adults have like hair underscore alpha 5, and then child will be bangs underscore L3, and toddler will be hair underscore alpha with no number. Kind of complicated, but this one luckily has all the same stuff. And even if the groups have different names, as long as they're mapped the same, you can actually still use the same material definitions for them later, which is nice. But let's replace AF, or let's extract, I mean. Something that is nice is that I actually don't need to add the shape or crest in the name because it is already tacked on in the extension. And because we have the scalp thing, let's look in here again. And yeah, this is the hair texture, the 12C6E. And then we have a blank scalp. So I am bringing that with me as well. And now we have a whole bunch of resources to replace. All of the AF and YF hairs use the same mesh. So that can be good to keep in mind. And then you obviously have the 4 child resources and the 14 resources. I sometimes like to count when I'm doing this. I can show you what I mean. I add the AF shape and crest and the hair material definition. So I'll empty this out. Package. And commit. Then I will extract this and just name it AF. So I know I have 1 there, and then 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And that should be all the resources using the adult mesh. Then I want to remove just the resource node and the shape from here. I want to keep the hair material definition because I'm going to need it later. I add the child resources, and at least there aren't as many here. Probably will not get as easily mixed up. Again, I want to add the resource node, shape, material definition. Extract and name it CF. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Delete these, and then do the same thing for teens. Shape and material definition. Commit. Extract. And they were all at the end of the list, so that was really quick. We can just look through them real quick to see that they've all been changed. You will see that there are some different values for the resource node and the shape, but the material definition is always the same because it is just a blank scalp. I will remove all the stuff I don't need, and then we will get on to extracting the actual textures. So here I have black, and I have brown. Again, most hairs don't have a separate gray package. These do. It doesn't really matter where you get your textures from. As long as you stick a material definition in there that is using a correctly mapped texture. It's gonna stick those on the mesh. And now this is gonna be a bit more complicated. Something I want to look at is how many of each color that I have. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, And then there's the gray, but that doesn't really count. So with every color that I add, I need to make sure I add it to 4 3D Getty referencing files. I'll start off with the black one. I will add it here. We'll go to the next black one. And here you can either always drag it from the package selector form, or once you've added it to one of the 3D Getty referencing files, you can click it, commit, and then once you go to the next one, you can right click and hit add, and it's gonna add like the last line you selected basically. That's the black one, and then we do blonde. Let's see, here's the first blonde one. And blonde. Delete that. And we do brown. Oh, something else, I guess, is that if you want to select it more easily, the same thing as with property sets work here. I click here anywhere in the square, and then I hit the up arrow, and it's going to select it for me, so you don't need to like it's not the tiniest area to click, but it's also not huge, so. Did I have one more to add? Yes, I did. And then we get to gray, which is easy. It's up here. And that's just this one. And finally, the red one. It's red, and see, what's that, 4 of them? Yes. Again, we can go through real quick and check that all of these have 4 lines now, which they should have after the changes we've made, and they do. So now I'm just gonna add all of the resources. I'll add the texture. Again, make sure to change this to something that lets you see the mesh package. Add the mesh. If you haven't already deleted the extra ages, you can do so now. Now I just have the child, the teen, and the adult resources in here, which is all I need for this hair. And it is property set time. Again, kind of tedious. Something to look out for if you're editing base game resources or anything from before seasons even, is that sometimes the category line for just a regular hair probably doesn't have outerwear enabled. You can see that with some earlier hairs. You'd think that, okay, the sim should be able to wear this hair with their outerwear clothes. No, they can't. Why? Because the category hasn't been set to outerwear. But yeah, I need to double check the names. Hair underscore alpha 3. So again, num overrides. Most hairs have 2 groups. It tends to be that. I want to change this to hair. I want to change this to hair underscore alpha 5. If these lines aren't set to 2 and 3, you need to change that as well. So make sure that the first set of these are set to 2 and the next one is 3 and so on. And these ones we can just delete. And commit. Is there anything else we want to change? I want this to be townified. Category's fine. Everything seems fine. So I will extract this, name it AF, and I will do the same thing here. And make sure to change the name and the hair tone. It is 1 for black, 2 for brown, 3 for blonde, and 4 for red, 5 for gray, and then 6 for colorful. This can be a little, like, this could trip you up because brown is 2 and blonde is 3, but blonde appears alphabetically before brown. So if you go by the list, it's going to go 1, 3, 2, 5, 4, or 1, 3, 2, 4, depending on if you have the gray or not.
The category 6, is that something that was shipped with the game, or is that something that, like, I know Chris Hatch has support for that? It, or not Chris Hatch, but
Do you mean version?
yes, or no, the hair tone, the hair tone
Oh,
6.
no, that is shipped with the game. Um, it
It's
is
just not enabled in Body Shop.
it's not enabled in Body Shop, and it's normally not enabled in Create a Sim unless you have the thing by Chris Hatch. It's called something, I don't know. He adds it at least. It is,
The
however,
widescreen fix for Body Shop.
yeah, and I know some UI replacements have it too. Uh, the way you would access it in the game is from the change appearance function in a mirror, or maybe even
Okay.
the hair salon thing. Yeah, this like 6 color is available from there. It's just not in Create a Sim. So I don't know, maybe they considered it like
Interesting.
too fun and funky for just Sims straight up Create a Sim, but
They left out a lot of functionality that they could have included.
yeah. But yeah, so that's only for default replacements at least. It's only really used for hairs that have a that have a colorful recolor. Bella Goth's hair, for example, has the recolors Bella, Freaked, and Streaked, where Bella is like a platinum blonde. Freaked, I think, is like black with pink and purple streaks in it, and then Streaked is brown with pink and yellow in it, or I'm mixing those two up. And then there's like PG Choppy, which is the hair that, what's her name? Melissa Fancy wears, and Andrea Hogan. That also has a bunch of colorful recolors, and those will have hair tone 6. Let's see, where was I? I changed this. That is not 3, that is 2. Nobody called me out on that. I guess I am supposed to be the person who knows these things. Gray, and then 5. I am gonna change this one back to 2. It doesn't really matter as long as product is set to 1. But the 6 is there. Like normally this would have version 2 product 1. The 6 is there because this specific one was updated for apartment life for some reason. Don't know why they did that. Here we're back at version 2 product 1. Now I can use my my property sets that I've set up for adults for children. I just need to be very mindful of what I do right now. So age I need to change to 2. I'll change the name to CF. And then I use the black recolor still. So at least I don't need to change anything about that. But you could also like do this manually all over again. I hate doing that, so I won't, but make sure that when you're replacing, like copying and pasting like this, basically, make sure that you are making the correct changes.
I thought H2 was toddler.
Age 1 is toddler.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then I think
So that
baby is
baby is
like 20.
0?
No, baby is 20, I think.
Oh, I will have to look into that.
Like, if nothing else, like check what age is already there. In this case it is 2, so I know that I just need to stick with that. No, I think baby being 20 would make sense, because why else would young adults be 40? Because elders is 10, and young adults could be 20, but they probably have something there already. Like babies. I still didn't extract this. CF. And now we just need to make sure to do the same changes as before. So this is blonde, and that is hair tone 3. And this is brown, and that is hair tone 2. there are some lines being shifted around here whenever I do this. I don't super mind that because generally property sets from later expansion packs tend to be more cleaned up anyway. And I don't know if all of the lines even do anything, honestly. For teens, I want to set age to 4. Change the name to TF. No, I wanted to extract you. Blonde. Brown. And red. And then we want to do these ones as well. And I'm gonna just keep them hidden as they were. So I'll change the age to just 40 instead of 48. I'll set flags to 9 and I'll change the name back to have the clone on the end. Let's see, where did you go? There. Blonde. 3. And brown. 2. And the last one, which is red. And that should be this file finished as well. So let's go take a look at it. Even I still like mess up stuff quite frequently because when you're doing the same thing over and over like this again, like it can be tricky to never make any mistakes, which is why I like to just quickly check in Body Shop that everything is working as intended. Oh, you heard my cat. She is here somewhere. And hair, and this one is gonna be quite far back. Oh, we did do something wrong. Oh, did I name it the wrong thing? Let's go look. This is kind of embarrassing. Let's see here. Maybe I named it like Hair Alpha 5 out of habit. What did I do?
So I'm sorry, it's showing as bald, most likely because in the 3ID, or no, in the GZPS, it's not pointing to the right subset.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's likely it. Yeah, I named it Hair Alpha 5 for some reason. Probably because it's the most common one, but it's supposed to be Hair Alpha 3. But I guess now you get to see what happens. So it is correctly recognizing the bald part of it because that's just a hair.
Right, it's not displaying anything because you didn't instruct it to apply a material to that subset.
Yeah. So the game is doing exactly what I told it to do.
That's what the workshops are for.
Yeah, I mean,
we get to see that what's happening in real time, and that if there is an issue, we get to learn how to fix it.
Yeah. It would have been nice to have like files set up with some common issues to like show you what happens, but I couldn't really figure anything out for that. Anyway, let's try it again now and see if she stops being bald. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there is already a bald hair in the game and I don't need another one. Let's try this again. It's probably still gonna have the bald. Oh no, here. Here we go.
That's downtown.
There she is.
I'm gonna grab both of those hairs. I really like both of those hairs.
Yeah,
that one would be perfect for my barbarian scheme.
I think I really do like these textures. They're like more realistic than the ones I use, but they're still not like super shiny. I think they could look nice in a Maxis match game even. But yeah, I want to make sure I try it for all ages. The black one is really dark, but I might have picked the darker. There's a lighter family as well. I want to see if I can look at this for... Oh, yeah, so what I was saying about young adults. Let's see if I scroll to this hair in the catalog for adults, you see that it is selected. There's a green highlight around it. If I go to this one here, this is the hair she has, but it is not selected. That is because the hair she is currently wearing is the young adult hidden clone. If I click this, nothing changes, but like they are two different hairs for all intents and purposes. I can see here she's wearing the adult version, and young adult version. So if I had a sim who wore this hair as a teenager, then age up to a young adult, and I hadn't replaced the young adult version, she would... I can actually, maybe I can just show you that to see what that would look like. Let's make a copy of this so I don't edit the original. But yeah, some people don't replace the young adult clones. I think it's mostly from like when people didn't really know what they were for, because base game hairs especially already have so many clones, and most of them don't seem to do anything. So why would these clones do anything? But they do. And I would recommend that you always replace them. Let's see if this is gonna load now. So if I remove all of these from the file and then go to launch Body Shop again, I'm so thankful that I have like an almost CC-free folder that I can also use so Body Shop loads way quicker.
Yeah, because I like with me, I have just my 3 loadouts,
Yeah.
and all of them take a while to load. I should make like a test game.
Okay, let's see what we have here. Oh, yeah, here we go. So she's wearing this hair as a teenager, ages up, and then she would get this if I don't replace the young adult hair. And then she ages to an adult and she gets the correct hair again. Now, however, if she was a blonde teenager, this time the game happened to pick the adult version instead of the young adult clone of the hair. But it basically comes down to the fact that when a teenager with this hair ages into a young adult, there are 2 hairs that are eligible to them that both fulfill the criteria of having the same family line and being enabled for young adults. So if you're unlucky, the game might just pick the wrong one, but that's why you replace everything. But yeah, that is all I had to show you for today. Are there any questions? Anything else? No?
No, I mean, that was a lot of information, and I think I'm still absorbing it. But no, just really nice workshop today.
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
really enjoyed it.
I did decide to do clothes before hair because I think doing hair first, if you at least watch the clothes workshop, there's not as much new information, but hairs are a lot.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I appreciate breaking it down and showing the differences between clothing and hair, because it really makes a difference to defaulters. There are 2 different techniques.